The Fourth and Goal Podcast.
That's all it is. But there's a lot of airspace to cover for Milroe. Still looking. Firing. Near corner. It's caught! Touchdown, Alabama!
Strebler dials it up. End zone! Touchdown!
They're going to snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws caught. Foles! Touchdown!
There ain't no podcast like the Fourth and Goal Podcast. Like, hit that subscribe button and share.
And welcome to the Fourth and Goal Podcast here on a beautiful Tuesday evening. Currently, the State Farm Championship Classic is in halftime with Duke and Kentucky, with Duke leading by 9, about to start the second half. Saw Michigan State play earlier today. I will not say anything other than you can't shoot 3 for 24 from 3-point and expect to beat the number 1 team in the country.
It looks a lot of the same in East Lansing.
Yeah, it was bad. It was not a great game, but that's not why you guys are here, or at least not yet. We'll get into more college basketball breakdowns as the season goes on and we get into conference play and all of that good business. But kind of the reason why I was watching the game, other than being a super huge MSU fan, was the College Football Playoff Committee rankings. Justin, what do we start off with here?
I think we should start off with go ahead and talk about the top 4 first.
I don't like Penn State being up that high. I don't think they've looked like the number 4 team in the country. But at the same time, are you going to put Indiana there? Are you going to put BYU there? Are you going to put Tennessee there? You're going to put Notre Dame there, Miami. Like, you're not going to put those other teams there. So, I mean, I kind of guess it's just they're there by association. Yeah, I don't know. I think the two top teams are at number 1 and number 2, and I wish we were in the BCS era, honestly, because that's really how I feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to bring out more intriguing matches, like we were talking about. You know, with some of the projected games here, you would see some teams going into stadiums that are very unlikely that you don't usually see. And after about spot 12, you look down, it's kind of a logjam in there because Colorado at 17, I think, has a best shot to jump with their schedule. And I wonder if BYU with a 1 loss would still be allowed in the way the Big 12 has gone this year.
That's a great thing to bring up. So what we will do is take a look at the Cougs schedule. If I can find it, here we go. So you have a win over Kansas State. That's a ranked win. You have a win over SMU. That's a ranked win. So you have 2 ranked wins there. And we'll assume that SMU and Kansas State say ranked. I mean, there's no point if it's only like a 3-point loss or a 10-point loss to Colorado. I mean, I would put them in. The SEC. I mean, we could see Tennessee get to 2 losses and having a loss to Arkansas. That's a bad loss. Like, if you're BYU, if you have 2 ranked wins, you like dominated your conference. Well, maybe not dominated, but you won throughout your conference. I mean, you lose to a Colorado team that's been really good, especially in the second half of this year. That's definitely, something to look at. And look, I mean, 1 loss BYU, dude. If SMU's in, BYU's got to be in, right?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Like if everything was to stand pat the way it is right now, and you say Colorado hypothetically beats BYU, so everybody moves up a spot, and now you got SMU say they finish 11-1. You know what I mean?
You're right, but SMU would have to beat Miami to get in. I don't think that's really what it's going to be. And then does Miami get in with 2 losses?
I think Miami's probably out with 2 losses, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Jesus.
It's gonna be a nightmare, man.
Yeah, this is really the worst year to like I mean, we saw the parity last year. I mean, there were 6 teams that arguably should have been in the college football playoff last year.
Yeah.
We can only put 4 in. Now you're going to say, oh, well, we can put about 18 teams in, and there's only going to be 12. Maybe not 18, but like 15 to 16, somewhere in that range, right?
Right.
So, I don't know. Boise State, if that team loses, I I mean, you could look at like an Army or Tulane getting in, which they both are the other group of 5 teams. I mean, I guess Washington State, who knows? Maybe Washington State gets in, right? I mean, if
Yeah.
they went out and things get crazy. But a team I did want to look at because Georgia fell
Thing
kind
that
of low than
Before
I
you go
thought.
on with that thought though, before you move on real quick, the thing with Washington State though is that they have to be an at-large team, which they
Yep.
would have to be selected because they're not a part of a conference. So they could realistically go 11-1 and still be outside of that top 12.
Right. And we'll take a look at Georgia's schedule. I mean, your 2 losses are to two potential college football teams. If you can beat Tennessee, which they're going to be without Nico, because he has a concussion, according to reports that came out earlier today. Massachusetts and Georgia Tech. I think Georgia can control their own destiny in
They'll be
Alabama.
in.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't know.
And the thing that's funny about Georgia is that for the first time in many years, they're not going to have to worry about an SEC championship.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? So now you
And
got a fresh Georgia team going into the playoffs.
honestly, looking back at, you still get a month off whether you're in the championship game or not.
Yeah, I mean, but you still got that extra game. That's a lot of wear and tear.
Yeah, dude. It's so tough to look at everything and be like in the SEC because they have, I think, 8 teams ranked. Now, I don't think Missouri, LSU, or South Carolina are going to get up to that point in the college football playoff, especially not Missouri or LSU. I think South Carolina, if they wanted to play their way in, they could. I mean, look, if they beat Missouri this weekend and beat Clemson at the end of the year,
They're going to be knocking on the door, man.
yeah.
And they're the team that's hot right now. You know what I mean? That people probably don't want to play.
And I don't know if A&M's going to get it or not. They would have to beat Texas, in my opinion. If they wanted to get in.
Yeah. This whole thing could shake up pretty good because you got Georgia going to Tennessee this weekend, right?
Yep.
And Tennessee, I mean, all these teams have shown vulnerability, but Tennessee, say they lose at home, they're probably on the outside looking in, and this whole thing's going to shift.
Well, and it's just like, what does the committee want to do with these SEC teams? But I mean, I think Ole Miss controls their own destiny at this point. I think they're in.
Yep.
You have 2 3-point losses with Kentucky, which isn't great, and then LSU, but you do have the win over Georgia. So, and I mean, you hammered Arkansas, which Arkansas beat Tennessee.
And they got to have probably Mississippi State left on their schedule and
Florida.
So, I mean, yeah,
They should
win out. I could see. I mean, it's all bets are off in the in-state rivalry thing. And Florida, I mean, you never know. They still have a lot to fight for, and they're still playing for Napier down there. So, I mean, they may be looking to get some momentum rolling going into the next season. That could be a trap for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think you gotta finish out your schedule if you're these SEC teams. Texas, they play Arkansas, Kentucky, and then Texas A&M. Which, with Texas, how they've been this year, obviously they got that dominating win over Florida. Congrats to them. But I mean, their best win on their schedule is Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt's considered a good win now.
Yeah, I mean it is a good win. I'm not gonna discredit the Commodores. I mean, come on,
right?
But I mean, you lose to Georgia by 15, and Georgia should have won by more if Carson Beck hasn't been like the worst quarterback in the SEC, arguably. But look, I mean, a win over Michigan still means something. We see that with Indiana at 5. I don't know. I mean, Texas, other than the Vanderbilt game in Georgia, I mean, their margin of victory is pretty solid. But yeah. I mean, it's Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and Florida in the SEC, and then out of conference, it's UL Monroe, UTSA, Michigan, and Colorado State.
I mean, outside of the shellacking that they took to Georgia, I mean, they played tight with Vandy for a minute, kind of pulled away at the end, but Texas has beaten everybody soundly that they've went up
Yeah.
against.
Right. And I think the problem is that the preseason bias comes into effect, because you want to hear my honest opinion.
Yeah.
I think SMU should be switched with Miami. Because I think a 3-point loss.
Do they get to play it out on the field now?
If both of them continue to win out, they will most likely play in the ACC championship game. Although they do have Clemson at number 2.
I could see SMU and Miami potentially winning out.
Yeah, but I
think you made a good comparison with this Miami team to last year's Washington team. Kind of shaky on the defense, Heisman candidate quarterbacks, high-powered offenses with receivers. You know what I mean?
I liked Washington's team last year a lot more.
Even though Miami's receivers aren't comparable to Washington's receiver room.
But Restrepo, Jacoby George, Brown, they got some guys. I think they also, with Damian Martinez, Johnson, he had a couple games for Washington, but he wasn't a key factor in that offense except that USC game. Damian Martinez and Fletcher are both guys they look to go to a lot of the time. And they account for 14 touchdowns total. But yeah, Isaiah Horton too. I don't know, dude. I think Miami, if they went out, they'll be in. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to get more.
That brand carries a lot of weight.
But honestly, I think the only 2-loss ACC team that could get in would be SMU. But I don't know. They would have to play. They would have to play Miami super close.
Let's do a breakdown here. You got Oregon, Ohio State, who I think are locks in the Big Ten.
No matter.
Penn State, Indiana are probably locks.
Ohio State could lose to Indiana and probably be fine. I don't know if Penn State.
You're looking at 4 Big Ten teams.
Yep.
And then the SEC, you're looking at what? Texas. I think I'd like to think Alabama and Ole Miss are in. Tennessee, I don't know about, and then Georgia. So 4. So let's say 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC.
Boise State's most likely going to get in.
That's 9.
And then you got to hope Colorado doesn't beat BYU, because they would have to put BYU in.
And then after that point, you got Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, I forgot about those.
So that's 11.
Nah, Notre Dame's going to choke against USC.
You think so?
No,
I'm not going that far. They may be the hottest team in the country right now.
Right. Yeah. Other than that loss to NIU, man. Dude, they beaten Louisville, which is a good team. They have a win over Texas A&M. Yeah. They're probably going to win versus Army, which will look good on their record. So
they already beat Navy.
Yep, already beat Navy. Yeah, dude. And Georgia Tech probably looks like a good win since they beat Miami.
Yeah, no, I think Georgia Tech kind of falls into that Vanderbilt of the ACC kind of.
Yeah, 6-4. Yeah, no, they're a solid team. For
solid quarterback, not, you know what I mean?
But that kind of brings up to the point where you wanted to open up the show before the rankings came out. Just the state of college football and where we're at. This is going to be a lot of people are going to be unhappy when it comes to the first Sunday in December. A lot of people are going to be pissed, to say the least. So,
yeah, it's complete chaos, pure anarchy. First year of the 12-team playoff, and we're already sitting here trying to look at this. To me, right now, there's about 20 to 21 teams. Well, I'll say probably about 18 to 20 comfortably that are still in the playoff chase. We have no feel on any of this stuff to this point. At least I can speak for myself.
Shit, dude. Who knows?
I've been off base almost weekly. You know what I mean?
And I think we're gonna come to the decision that the 4th and goal poll just needs to be scrapped, because we're putting in new teams every single week. We'll give our opinions and everything, but the fourth and goal poll, 2024 to 2024 is officially dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was fun while it lasted, but this is complete anarchy. Like it's almost
maybe we'll revisit the decision next year to have
it's not college basketball crazy as far as parity goes, but it's getting there.
Oh yeah, no. And I mean, obviously, well, what's the reasoning for it, guys? Transfer portal, no pieces that are depths at Georgia or Alabama or Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, Clemson. Like these guys are going to transfer out. Like Clemson had a lot of corners transfer out on their team that weren't stars, but they were crucial pieces that got thrown into games and were slot corners, like Makuba, who went to Missouri, right? So I mean, there's just a lot of pieces that end up leaving teams and going to be stars or significant players at these different schools, like a BYU, like Colorado, which always takes transfers. Kansas State had a couple guys transfer in from other teams that had been good. Kobe Savage, the corner there, I mean, he transferred from Oregon, right? So it's just that's going to happen. I honestly think the quality of player is just less and less when it comes to the O linemen. Maybe D linemen have just gotten so much better, but I don't, other than really like Oregon, I don't think an offensive line's been particularly like amazing this season.
I think that was so. I guess we'll give a free shout out, but I think I was watching Urban Meyer, who was talking about that exact thing that you just brought up, how hard it is to recruit offensive linemen now because they're so hard to project. You know what I mean? It's look at Michigan. Michigan's missed out on quite a few. You know what I mean? Just looking locally, and I can't tell you why that's the case, because I know when I go out to these fields on a Friday and I see a Division I offensive lineman, he looks like a Division I offensive lineman to me in most cases. You know what I mean? So
I think it's not necessarily the talent individually. I think it's getting to get these guys to play collectively, because the good offensive linemen are going to leave after 3 years. And if you're a team, that's on the outside looking in most cases, or if you're a mid team in your conference, you're probably looking to take a couple of transfer portal linemen. Injuries also seem to be a big problem for a lot of these offensive lines. So there's just a lot of stuff going on, right? And a lot of variables, and maybe the talent development isn't just as good, and we're moving into a softer era, so that might also be the part of it as well. But I mean, when I look at these defensive linemen for a lot of schools, I mean, dude, Georgia's defensive line has some freaky dudes. Yeah. Michigan's defensive line, I know they're not great this season, but Michigan's defensive line, freaky dudes. Tennessee's defensive line, freaky dudes. Ohio State's supposed to be freaky dudes. I mean, Penn State's defense is still freaky in my opinion. Like, I think these defensive lines and secondaries are so much better. I'd also say quarterback plays the worst it's been in a long time.
Yeah, there's no quarterback that I look at right now that I say, oh wow, that's going to be the next Matthew Stafford.
I see Shedeur. That's about it. Shedeur and Cam Ward. That's about it.
Yeah, I would definitely comfortably say those two.
Like, I mean, like Dillon Gabriel, who's a really good quarterback this year. I mean, he does not project well for the NFL, in my opinion. I mean, he's a worse version of Tua. Like,
it's almost kind of like a Stetson Bennett like kind of situation with him,
right? Like, I mean, Quinn Ewers is uber talented. He's kind of been like, I mean, he's been hurt, and I don't think he's been 100% healthy.
Right.
I mean, Jalen Milroe is a great running back, but in terms of throwing the ball, he hasn't been particularly.
I mean, you look at a guy like Dillon Gabriel, who's been on 3 different teams.
Right.
He went from UCF to Oklahoma to now Oregon.
I mean, he
was solid. Good. He would be gone.
Yeah, like that's what I mean. Will Howard, I mean, for Ohio State, if he was good, he would be gone. I mean, he was competing for Adrian Martinez and then now Avery Johnson. Like, and I don't think both of those players are necessarily, great. Drew Aller, I mean, he was supposed to be a guy that was going to be top 10 in the NFL draft and all this hype since he's came out of high school. And I mean, he's been okay, but I mean, he hasn't been great.
I mean, when we're talking about good or judging these guys, it's more so from an NFL potential
Yeah.
standpoint because obviously they're all good. You know what I mean? Or else they
Right. I
wouldn't
mean,
be
there's
where they
still,
are.
I mean, Curtis Wark might be one of the top QBs.
Yeah,
But I
could.
mean, he might actually project well into the NFL.
Yeah, I could
Uh,
see that.
I think his last year at Ohio wasn't great because he was hurt, but like the years before, I mean, Ohio was competing for the MAC championship, and he was the leader of that team. And I think with him getting Indiana into this spot, sure, he's old, but we saw Bo Nix, Michael Penix,
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, all these older quarterbacks, and play extra time. And I mean, look, they look, some of them look good.
Oh yeah.
I think Riley Leonard's been actually pretty well recently for Notre Dame. After that NIU game, I mean, he's been playing well, but he's more of a runner.
Yeah, he's definitely
Maybe
leans
I
more
think a
towards
guy.
dual
You know
threat.
what? This will be a good point for you. Jennings from SMU, dude. That kid is legitimately a real baller for him. He had like one bad game versus Duke, but he had a rib injury during that game. But other than that, dude, this kid, he's athletic. He's dual threat. He can sling the football around. He's got a great tandem in Brashard Smith. And look, the stats on the season for him, I mean, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 1,900 yards, 65 completion percentage, almost 10 yards per attempt, and then 317 on the ground with 3 touchdowns. I mean, that dude, he's been good this year. Like,
What do you think about Jackson Dart?
I don't know. that's a
I
big.
mean, I'm just
I
sitting here
think
wondering, like, how does he
you gotta
project?
realize a lot of these NFL teams think they can fix these quarterbacks too. With that being the case, I don't know, but yeah, jeez, dude, I don't know what to think. I think Mateer could be all right at Washington State. I think he's been good. Shock's been solid at Louisville, man. I mean, like there has been good quarterbacks. It's just not these guys on the top teams. Like Nico's
Yeah.
been kind of disappointing. Tennessee's quarter or not Miami. Oh, I guess Miami. Okay. But like the SEC guys, like Milrow,
I'll bet you
Dart,
any money
Beck,
Quinn Ewers is a first round pick in this coming draft.
like he won't be or he will.
He will be.
I think it will depend on Texas playoff success. But I mean, honestly, I think I mean, he's had moments where it's like, dude, this kid looks like he could be the best quarterback in college football. It's just there's not that sustainability there.
Yeah.
But he's been also injured, so I think that's also a problem. Yeah, dude. All right, we have spent a lot of time on this stuff. Let's get through these games quickly. And you know what? There really wasn't that too many great games this weekend. Alabama versus LSU, 42-13. Milrow, my player of the week, played well, man. He got it done with his legs, over 15 yards per attempt on the ground to go with 4 touchdowns. I mean, when he's healthy with his legs, that dude's like one of one. In terms of the playmaking he can be as a quarterback, that's Bama's ceiling right there. Because I mean, he can throw the ball around here. He can give Ryan Williams a highlight. He can give Jeremy Bernard a nice 60-yard ball down the sideline. But for the most part, he ain't gonna hit the short and intermediate reads, nor is he good at making reads. So when he is an athlete and he can get into space, that's when Alabama's gonna win football games.
Yeah, I agree. I was watching this game closely because of both teams. I feel like were kind of on that edge, and it was whoever won the game was going to stay in the race. And I honestly thought LSU was more evenly matched with Alabama. Alabama kind of hit that almost Nick Saban like stride in that game. Milrow, like you said, he looked good. The defense obviously shut down Garrett Nussmeier and an LSU offense that's pretty potent most of the time, which is a good sign for them.
Yeah.
And I kept Alabama around in my top 12 in the last poll we did.
Yeah.
RIP to the poll. Because I felt like Alabama has the talent, has the personnel to make a deep run, and again will be a team that won't have a conference championship.
Yeah, we talked about, the secondary is super young. They're going to get better as the season goes on.
And
Well,
they
it's
have.
really easy. It's really easy to play your secondary, or it's easy to have your secondary play well when you only have to worry about one part, or LSU being only a factor in one part of the offense and that being the passing game. Look, dude, I think Nussmeier is honestly a really good quarterback, but I don't think he's given a lot to work with in terms of having a running game. He's not Michael Penix. He's not this volume thrower. If he was in like a Michigan JJ McCarthy system, I'd say, oh, Garrett Nussmeier probably would be, a top 10 quarterback. And honestly, I still think Nussmeier is going to be a first round quarterback when the NFL scouts look at him and we see him make that 60-yard off platform throw that ends up being the number 2 overall pick.
Absolutely.
I was watching, what was I watching earlier? I was watching something where it was like, Zach Wilson, he had more to show, a lot more to showcase than just his pro day. I don't think scouts actually care about pro days, but for media purposes, it gives the hype. I think Nussmeier is a good QB, bro. And he's got the pro build. It's just the decision making when it's not there for him. Hasn't been there, but I would say that it's about 99% quarterbacks in college football. So,
well, he's going to have to go pro because he has to make room for Bryce Underwood.
Well, that's if Bryce Underwood is apparently even going to LSU. We'll give you recruiting. I mean, me and Justin, we get our insights from our sources, and we will let you know if we think things are going to flip. By the way, his offensive coordinator, or I guess Bryce Underwood, is being coached by legendary sign-stealing guru Connor Stallions. He's calling the offensive plays at Belleville for their playoff runs. He was the interim head coach at Detroit Mumford. They went 1-8. They were Justin went to a game at Detroit Mumford. Okay, he could tell you how bad it was.
No, it was Detroit Henry Ford actually.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Mumford.
I'll say that the PSL, like, not to get too off the rails on high school stuff, but the PSL, I'm sorry, has probably the best raw talent in the state.
Yeah, it's just not to bring a ton of factors outside of it, but I mean, the schools academically aren't great. The facilities aren't great. The leadership coaching isn't great. The outside stuff for players, I mean, it's Detroit,
The resources.
Yeah. I mean, let me put it to you this way. There's a good reason why I live a good amount of time outside of Detroit. And I know where Justin lives, and it's a nice area too. But downtown Detroit's cool and everything, but when you get into the suburbs, man,
it gets a little scary.
There's a reason why in like USA Today and all of these sites, Detroit's ranked at one of the worst places in the country.
Yeah.
So, but okay, we got really off topic. But yeah, final thoughts on this game, dude. Honestly, I know Alabama's lost to Vanderbilt, and they lost to Tennessee, but 2 one-possession losses to 2 quality teams, both on the road. You got wins over Missouri, Georgia. I think Wisconsin's a solid enough win, and then LSU. As long as you can finish out your schedule, go 10-2, man, this team's going to the playoff, bro.
I'll say roster-wise, for me, Alabama in a playoff situation can match up with any other roster in the country.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with you there. I think they're a little lackluster at receiver, but I think honestly, I mean, Jam Miller and Justice Haynes are both great counterparts to Jalen Milroe. And I mean, defensively in the front 7, especially with Jahad Campbell and Deontay Lawson. I mean, both of those guys are really good playmakers. They get the push up front defensively. I mean, this team's legit, dude. This team is legit.
Yeah, I agree.
Penn State, dude, with the slobber knocking over Washington. They are something. I like this Penn State team, dude.
They're world beaters when they're not playing Ohio State and Michigan in the past. I can't say that they wouldn't whoop. They'd probably whoop Michigan's ass this year,
or Bowling Green, but that team's a great match.
Yeah.
Dude.
You just you wonder how this locker room in Happy Valley is like. I'd like to be a fly on the wall in there, because your coach is under fire right now. Your fan base is getting at your coach, throwing stuff on the field. Most of your fan base wants him gone. Like, you wonder if Franklin has the locker room, and if we're going to see Penn State, because talent for talent, they're up there with anybody in the country, probably outside of the receiver position.
Well, and I think that's been the difference for Drew Aller's development and Penn State's success as a team, dude. If they had receivers like Oregon, or maybe not, like even like Michigan State's receivers, bro. Like if they could get like a Nick Marsh in there, or they just have no, like Trey Wallace is cool. He's cool, but he ain't a difference maker. He ain't gonna get like 10 receptions when you need it in a game. I mean, this team's great defensively. They have 2 amazing running backs. I'd say their offensive line's actually been pretty solid this year. But, I mean, other than Warren as a pass catcher, dude, their ability to not be able to push the ball down the field, which is something that you need Aller to do with the arm strength. And there's a reason why Colton Nicky has to do so much different stuff in the offensive scheme. I mean, you look at it, they're running so many weird formations and motions and shifts that it makes it really difficult. And that's what they have to do to win games offensively, because they can't put up 40 points and just like hang it over you. They're just not that team. I mean, maybe you get Katron Allen or Nick Singleton to go off for 100 yards, but that's about it. That's about it.
Yeah, and Penn State's one of those teams, like many teams in the Big Ten Conference or in the country for that instance, that are kind of trying to break generational curses, because you look at Penn State, like they've put a couple guys out over the years, but they've never really had the horses at the receiver position. And they
like their best receiver probably in the last like 10 years, who either Jahan Dotson or Parker Washington, which both of them are NFL players, but like there's not a Justin Jefferson or that type of guy. Like
I had Allen Robinson, I mean, a little bit before that, and he's obviously tailed off in his career. I mean,
he had a couple good years in Chicago.
You go to Penn State, man, your front 7 guys like LeVar Arrington, Navarro Bowman, like all those guys that have came through Penn State, like they're definitely more known for the line. Paul Puzzlesny, who was a good linebacker. I mean, you can go down
as of recent.
You can go down the list, and they still have that, Robinson, but they just don't have the receivers and the playmakers to win on the big stage.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State's best playmaker in the past 15 years is Saquon, and then who's number 2?
Well, you got to really sit and think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when you get to teams like LSU or Ohio State, or I would say, actually, Georgia. Well, Georgia,
you have the guy that came after Barkley, running back. Why is it drawing a blank to me right now? Plays for the Panthers now. Whatever, but yeah, if it comes to me, Miles Sanders.
Oh, yeah, but he wasn't no Saquon.
No,
I mean, he was solid. Yeah, I mean, I think both of these running backs are going to be pro guys. But at the end of the day, like Penn State's they're a step away from being a legitimate threat. That's really what it is.
Yep.
And as for Washington, better look next year.
When are Katron Allen and Singleton gonna be pros? Because I feel like I'm watching Hunter Dickinson of college football with those two. Like they've been here forever.
Backtrack. Both of them played as freshmen. They're both juniors currently. So,
you think they'll both leave this year?
I think one will. I think Katron's honestly more likely to leave this year than Nick Singleton. But we'll see. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. And
they might want to come back and rebuild something, because Penn State, I have a feeling Aller's going to come back and they're going to try to get 2 or 3 transfer portal receivers to get in there. But I guess it depends who's in the portal, and also if they can recruit any freshmen to come make it. Because what you can sell kids on is, look, dude, we're only going to lose really Abdul Carter and Kevin Winston. We should have a lot of good guys coming back, and we could be a really damn good team. So,
yeah, I mean, they're a really good damn team right now. It's just when it comes to that big game.
Yeah. Colorado, baby, 7-2. How about it?
Can't not talk about them.
I love the Buffs, baby. You said, you jokingly said this, but you were like, "Oh, well, you're just a Dion meat rider," and blah 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 blah. Well, right now it's a great time to be one.
Yeah,
And look, dude, they didn't run the football. Shador
they
had,
never do.
yeah, Shador had a not a great game, but dude, guess what got it done? The physicality on the defense, baby.
Yeah,
7 sacks, 11 TFLs, 2 fumble recoveries. All the Sanders sons, including Travis Hunter, scored. I mean, it's just great.
yeah,
No, honestly though, I've really been like, Colorado might not be the best football team and they're not going to win the national championship, dude, but this is probably a team I enjoy a lot watching.
yeah. Dude, I've trashed Colorado more than anybody, and you know that. And I mean, I got to give them their props, dude. Whether it's a weak Big 12, strong Big 12, like to me, if they win out and they go to the college football playoff this year, that's pretty
Dion to
remarkable.
Florida. Kidding. Billy Napier's actually going to stay.
And now you're looking at it and you're going, what? This is Colorado. Dion's what, second year there?
Yep.
Like, and they're already in the college football playoff. Like we've sat here and made fun of them and like kind of made a big spectacle out of it, and here they are about to get into the playoff. Like,
Right.
what the hell's going on? And by the way, Shador Sanders, my player of the week. This was a game that Texas Tech was favored in by a lot of the experts all week. Colorado at one point even overcame the 13-point deficit. 293 touchdowns, another touchdown on the ground. Probably the future number 1 pick in the NFL draft at this point.
Him or Hunter.
It could be 2 Colorado guys back to back. So yeah, he's my player of the week this week. Sprinkle that in there while we talk about him. But yeah, man, they're must-see TV right now. Colorado's must-watch.
Yeah. And the thing is the defense, dude, that really gets me about this team. They're really good. Up front defensively, they get to the quarterback, they stop the run game. It's great, honestly. I would not want to watch any other football team in the world right now than Colorado.
Yeah, and I always made fun of you, but I mean, like I said, I'm not afraid to admit when I'm wrong.
I think Dion's just influence. Because I mean, a lot of people talk crap about Dion, but he's actually like really cares about these kids' futures, whether it's in football or not. He makes sure they're well behaved and they're disciplined. And I know they have cameras in front of them and stuff, but like, I mean, he makes sure it's a very well ran foundation. And I think he's starting Colorado might be a for life job for Dion. We'll see. If Florida State becomes available, he might go there. If there's a big attractive job that finds him, like if Texas ever becomes open or something of that nature, he might go there. But I think Colorado is a really good spot for a guy like Dion because he already gets all the publicity there. So he just has to recruit high schoolers.
Yeah, and you wonder what's going to happen with him. I mean, all of his sons are gone this year, like you said, including Travis Hunter. Like, I think he could get a bigger job offer to a bigger, like, blue-bloodish program that's struggling, that wants to bring a spark there. But I just wonder if he's even going to coach at all once his kids are gone and moved on to the NFL.
Or is he going to go be an NFL head coach? Because
yeah, he could do that too.
Dion to the New York Jets.
It's almost kind of like a LeVar Ball movement, but on steroids.
I think
because
it's
there's actually some credibility with it.
Well, I mean, LeVar's got 2 sons in the NBA. I mean,
yeah, but he wasn't Dion.
No,
Dion's got a gold jacket.
Yeah, and well, that's not true. LeVar Ball was a great player at Washington State, 2.2 points per game, and he beat that one guy on Sports Nation on that like little like driveway hoop that was at like 8 feet.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
I mean, kudos to him because he did put his family on and did create generational wealth.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Dion provides that generational wealth, and I don't think Shiloh will, but Shador should create.
Shiloh will get a shot, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Shiloh's bad. I think honestly, their defenses looked better without him when he was hurt.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's the point. Boise State played a close one with Nevada. Nevada, their record, that team's better than what their record says they are, man. I mean, they played SMU close early in the season. I mean, they have some bad losses. But I mean, San Jose State, who's been a solid team this year, they're going to a bowl, lost to them by 1 possession. Fresno State, 1 possession. And then Colorado State's been solid, lose to them by 17. And then you lost to SMU by 5, Georgia Southern by 3. Like, they have a couple blowout losses. But I honestly anticipated better stuff for this team. And I mean, look, if those coin flips go the other way, they look at a 6-3 record. Actually be like a 6. They played 11 games already. What the hell? They're playing 13 games this season.
I was looking at that. I was kind of wondering why, but I didn't want to do a deep dive into Nevada.
That's really confusing. Yeah. But I mean, on the Boise State side of things, I mean, Genty had another 200-yard game. He's the best player in the country. In my opinion.
So what do you think his Heisman odds are at this point? Like, as far as like his chances to realistically win?
Since Cam Warden, Miami might not be a college football playoff team. I think it's really between him, Hunter, and Gabriel.
Yeah.
Being honest. I still would, if I was the Heisman voter, I'd still have, because if you look at the numbers, I mean, statistically on the season, I mean, let's take a look. 7.7 yards per carry. What other running backs doing that in college football?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. 23 touchdowns. He's going to probably break Barry Sanders' record.
I was just wondering, though, because like I've watched them the last couple of weeks, and it's almost obvious to me that they're force feeding him at this point, and I think he wants it, but they're force feeding him at this point to try to carry him into New York, and he doesn't need any help getting carried per se into New York, but the kid is still carrying the ball 30 plus times a game, which is.
Well, I don't think Boise State would win very many football games without
I mean, he's a freaking workhorse, you know what I mean? And that's in today's game, you don't see people carrying the rock like that.
Yeah, I think Hunter has a very good chance of winning it too, but I think honestly it's going to be Dylan Gabriel's team's so great around him. He doesn't really my thing is I look at it as like the MVP award more than, or I think it should be more like the MVP award rather than the like just like without Genty, that Boise State team ain't winning the Mountain West Championship at all.
No.
And I think if Colorado
wouldn't even be talking about him.
Yeah, and I don't know if Colorado has a winning record without Travis Hunter's impact this year.
Yeah, but at the same time, now talking about Boise State, now how do you think they would fare in the first round? I mean, say they could get in at 12, and say they end up and they draw somebody like Penn State or Texas or Ohio State. Like,
well, I think they could beat Penn State.
Really?
I mean, look, dude, they only lost. I know Oregon was a way different team in week 2, but I mean, their only loss to them is by 3, bro. Like.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I obviously I don't think it's likely that they're going to win a game, right?
It's the most impressive loss in the country at this point. They're lost to
it is the best. And I mean, you could say Oregon's win over Boise State's one of the better wins in the country.
Yeah, because I mean they're in the discussion right now in that 12-13 range. So I mean, yeah, it's crazy. I just wonder, like. I mean, dude, as crazy of a year as Ashton Genty's had, I don't want to sound like this guy, but I really wonder how he would have done had he gone into the Big Ten or the SEC, like, you know what I mean? Or if they would have allowed him to do the things that they allow him to do at Boise
I think
State.
Dude, if he was on Ohio State, I think he'd still have the same amount of average yards per carry. I just don't think he would have the same production level just because it wouldn't have to be as reliant.
Yeah. I mean, you see
I still think he would, well, yeah, if it was him, I mean, dude, if they could, honestly, if fucking Ohio State could have ran like a 3-wing T system, dude, imagine Ashton Genty, Quinshad Judkins as like the fullback guy and Trevion Henderson on like the left wing. I mean, dude.
That'd be unstoppable.
Or even if he was at like Texas, dude. Texas does, I mean, Quintravion Wisner's been all right, bro, but like, dude, if they had Genty, like, I think he would add a really good, or even Georgia. It'd be great at Georgia because their running back situation has. I mean, ETN's been good when he's healthy, but
yeah,
I mean they don't have that number 2 back. Like Frazier's okay. He's not great. So
Yeah, I'm rooting for this Boise State team though. I want to see them get into a playoff and see how they do.
yeah. Oregon versus Maryland to round out our college football playoff slate. They go into the mighty Terrapins' house and they clean it. They get out of there safely.
They tore it up. Yeah, I feel like
Oh, actually, they were at home. Never mind. My mistake. But still, regardless, dude, Maryland's just they're never gonna be good off in conference
I
play.
feel like, dude, I feel like Maryland's that team that always has, like, they had Talia for years, and I feel like he was a solid quarterback, and they've obviously produced guys like Diggs and whatnot. Like, they've had like position groups that were good, like year in and year out, but it's never
Oh my
been a
God,
full,
who was
like,
that one corner? Deontay Banks. I mean, like
yeah,
they've had a couple guys that have been like
yeah.
solid, but
And the reason that Loxley went to Maryland was the DMV area, which, you know what I mean, is one of the more fertile recruiting grounds in the country with, DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And he was supposed to deliver that. And I thought he was kind of on his way. But, I mean, you're going up against the best team in the country, too. But, I mean, it's on a week-to-week basis with Maryland.
Maryland football has never really been that good in my lifetime.
No.
It's a solid program. You're going to get some players. You're going to get maybe an upset or two. You're going to have some competitive games. I think Billy Edwards is cool at the quarterback position. I know he didn't play great in this game, but like throughout the whole season, he's been all right. But I mean, dude, it's Maryland, bro.
Yeah, no, it's at the end of the day.
I hate, and I'm not normally one to shit on football programs, but dude, like Maryland's just one of those schools where there is no potential at all. I'm sorry. Like it's not like a Nebraska where there's potential there because of the collective,
Virginia Tech,
or or Virginia Tech, or even like a West Virginia, like just in that whole area, East Side area. I mean, dude, Syracuse has a better shot of being more successful than Maryland. Pittsburgh does. I mean, dude, if I was a recruit, I'd probably rather go to those schools because be a little bit more competitive there than what Maryland is.
yeah.
Maryland would have to get some crazy NIL money and probably a head coach with a lot of flavor and almost like they would have to get like not necessarily Lane Kiffin, but like a Lane Kiffin type coach where he's just got a different attitude and a different swagger and like has a different way of operating things. Because I will say, I don't think the talent development's been great at Maryland. So
no, and I agree with that. We're kind of more here to talk about Oregon anyway, but
I love shitting on Maryland.
but no, look at Oregon, man, from an offensive standpoint, what they have with Gabriel, those receivers, that running back room. You can't give me a team in the country that can stop that offense. And they say defense wins championships and travels, but man, you talk about getting into a playoff situation with this team. Good. Well,
their defense with Birch healthy
is solid.
Yeah, it's a different story, dude.
So we went to TikTok and we did a poll for the people out there and put it out there and asked if Maryland, is the presumed favorite at this point because nobody can figure out, or Oregon. You got me saying
is Maryland. I wonder if someone would vote yes.
So yeah, we went with the poll if Oregon was the best team out there, and yeah, we got 127 responses to that, 67 saying yes and 60 saying no. So I mean, and these are people from around the country, man. So it looks like people are
the southern region is going to be like, well, no, because it could be one of our big bad boys,
Georgia or Alabama,
or Tennessee or Ole Miss. No, Oregon hasn't given me a reason to not think that they're the number one team in the country. Now, if you want to argue Ohio State because what would happen on a neutral field and that hypothetical, I still think roster-wise, and I think Oregon's quarterback's better. I would take Oregon, dude.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it's tough to go against them right now. I mean, they're the number one team in the country for a reason. They're unbeaten, and everybody else just continues to lose.
So you I talked to you prior to starting this episode, right? And you said that Duke was going to pull away. Well, Kentucky's leading 69-67 with 2:09 left. So,
They found something because they definitely
Duke's
didn't find
really
anything in the first half.
Duke's 1 for 11 in their last. Oh my God, Cooper Flag just got one of the toughest and ones. Holy smokes. Anyways, all right, let's move on to the NFL side of things. 50 minutes in, the Eagles thrash those Cowboys, man. The Cowboys stink. They will always stink, and they will continue to stink.
Yeah, they're probably like this whole team's going to get blown up. That's one of the worst situations in the NFL right now.
Did you see the thing with that radio? The guy at the it was like 105.3 The Fan, and like Jerry Jones threatened to like fire him because of him asking Jerry Jones tough questions on the radio show. And Jerry was like, "Well, I pay your salary." So it's like, bro, he's just trying to do his job.
Right.
But regardless, no, dude, I mean, the Cooper Rush and Trey Lance effect, you can't do the "here we go," and try to imitate that. So, and look, I honestly think Dak Prescott's a good quarterback in the NFL, but with this team and just how dysfunctional it is, man, dude.
They're chalking this year up as a loss, and the thing about it is they could legitimately have a top 5 pick next year, but they're not. They don't need a quarterback, so where do you go?
Well, you're not going to be able to move Dak's massive contract either, unless you wanted to take like Deshaun Watson, or you would have to trade him and eat up the cap space. So
yeah,
it just doesn't look very well for the Cowboys in the relative near future. And I mean, for the Eagles, man, look, they're 7-2, bro.
Yeah.
Now
Saquon's carrying the team. Jalen Hurts has been struggling a little bit, but dude, I mean, I kind of hate the Eagles model because they just go out and buy everybody, and it's like the closest thing to a super team in the NFL. But I mean, dude, they're pretty legit, man. Like you definitely something as a Lions fan that we'd worry about if we had to come across.
Yeah. I mean, they play the Commanders on Thursday night this week, so that'll be an entertaining matchup to look at for sure. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the Eagles are a good football team. And I think on both sides of the ball they get it done really well too. I think the addition of Saquon in the backfield's been a tremendous change for him as well, because he adds, that running back position that Miles Sanders gave him or the running back value that we'll look at that. 2 Penn State boys playing in Philly the past couple of years. But I think Saquon, as just another added weapon, and also opens up in the read option game for them. And look, Jalen Hurts hasn't been great, but he hasn't needed to be great with their schedule as of recent. So, but I mean, Jalen Hurts has been one of those dudes that like he can turn it on when he needs to, man. So,
no, and their run game definitely elevated. I thought Swift played good for them last year, but I mean, you're talking about Saquon Barkley taking them to a whole nother level, and then what are you going to do with Smith and AJ Brown on the outside? That's a lot to work with.
And you got Goddard at the tight end position as well.
I mean, good offensive line, Lane Johnson, so on.
Yeah, and their offensive line's played better as the season's gone on too.
Yep.
So moving on to what the fuck was this game? I mean, obviously you could see I love Jahmyr Gibbs, love the Lions, all grit. That was nothing. That is literally what all grit stands for, because holy shit, if this was any other Lions team in any other year, they would have lost by 30. So,
right.
I think the Texans also just aren't that good. As to like kind of the counterpart of it, I know their record, your record says what you are. No, I don't think so, because look, dude, the Texans play in a really shitty AFC South. The Colts stink, the Titans really stink, and the Jags stink really fucking badly, like a skeptic tank. So, I mean, you get 6 fucking free wins as long as you take care of those games. And I mean, other than that, dude, I mean, you lost to the Jets last week. That's a terrible loss. And I mean, dude, Jared Goff plays his worst game of the season by like a mile. And you know what? Lions still win it. We're still the
Yeah.
greatest team in the NFL. We're gonna win the Super Bowl, and it is what it is.
No, yeah, I'm looking at it, dude, and I'm watching the game, and it's crazy, dude. Like, I mean, one of the interceptions, I mean, you could say two. One
Yeah,
interception was on
I
a
like.
tip, and then the
Yeah,
one was a Hail Mary at the end of the
yeah.
half. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, yeah, we're looking at interceptions, but legitimately 3 interceptions, and Goff didn't play his greatest, but still, like, found a way to come back. Like, I'm pretty sure that Houston ate up all the TOP in the first half.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were able to move the ball. They had a couple things going, but dude, shout out to Aaron Glenn at halftime. I mean, just shutting shit down in Houston. Like, didn't even allow another point. Like, and I know they're without Nico Collins, but Houston still has legitimate threats.
Well, they're without Diggs
Stephon
too.
Diggs too.
But I mean, Mixon, he played terrible, and so did that offensive line. I mean, Mechie's solid, and Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, like those are legitimate like NFL receivers. I liked Xavier Hutchinson out of Iowa State. But I mean, look, the Lions were able to get pressure. They were the more physical team when it came to defensive lines and defense in general. And that's just how you're going to win football games, man. If you're physical
Yeah.
and you're able to get it done. Will Anderson was out of this game, right? I don't think he played as well. So obviously the Texans are dealing with some injuries, but hey, man, you play games every Sunday. If you want to be good, you gotta be the toughest team when it comes to depth and injuries, and also being able to pull out wins. So
Yeah, and they're doing that, man. Now we get to see what Zadarius Smith can do this coming week. I mean, I'd imagine he'd probably be on some kind of pitch count, trying to
yeah,
figure out the defense.
we'll see. I mean, it'll be against the Jaguars, and then they'll have the Colts. So we have 2 games to really
Tune up.
like the Lions are gonna be 10-1. Hopefully, I will actually let me not say that. You can lose any game in any week, but like I mean, looking at the Lions' schedule to finish out the season, I mean. We play the Bears twice. We play the Packers and Vikings, the Bills and the 49ers. I said it all out of order, but I mean, I like this team to finish like with their 17 games, about 14 wins, I think is where I think they should finish.
Yeah.
I
no
think you
doubt.
could lose. I think you could lose one of the Packers or Vikings, and then the Bills is going to be a really tough game as well. So
I could see 14-3, a couple more games along the way, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
that'd probably be good for him too.
Yeah. What do we have next? Yes. The Steelers versus Commanders, dude. Dangerous, baby. He continues to get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, the Steelers were solid, Justin Fields, but they look like a completely different team
With Russell.
Russell Wilson, man. I mean,
Yeah, and he's kind of activated George Pickens, who you're seeing
Yeah.
now make some pretty crazy catches. Another Steelers, 3rd, 4th round pick. That's going to end up being
he was
pretty.
a second. He was a second.
Was he second? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, still another.
And honestly, if he wasn't a complete idiot and also hurt half the time, wow, another Georgia
Yeah.
player, not being the smartest person.
And what I see Russell Wilson doing these last few games with the Steelers, it makes me wonder, especially when we talk about that in this game and the next game we're going to talk about, the quarterback thing. Like there's a lot of coaches now that are saying, are we giving up on quarterbacks too soon? Are we not giving them a chance? Like, and Russell, you've seen he actually played pretty well in Denver last year, and for whatever
The season
reason,
before was horrendous.
yeah. But now look at how he's playing in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's a 3-game sample size. He could fall down on his face. But it brings me to the point, like does it just come down to like the surroundings and you know what I mean, the system, and it makes a difference with these guys, and it seems like he's kind of rejuvenated his career there a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, look, I think Russell Wilson, I mean, dude, he was good in Denver. I don't think he was, and you had the idiot in Nathaniel Hackett, which we see how he's doing with the Jets,
Right.
not too well. And I think the Broncos are honestly not a very good football team. And to begin with, they haven't been since the Peyton Manning days. And look, dude, Mike Tomlin's he's going to find a way to win games, and I think the Steelers are a step above. They've had some injuries with Highsmith being in and out of the lineup, So we'll see what the Steelers team does, but honestly, they're like they keep going up on my list every single
Yeah.
week. So
And you obviously you got Highsmith and TJ Watt coming at you, you know what I mean? So I mean their defense is legit.
I like Joey Porter Jr. in
Yeah, Joey Porter
secondary.
Jr. All
And
three phases of
that's
the
a good
game.
Penn State player. Patrick Queen's been a nice linebacker.
Yeah,
As
absolutely.
well, Minka Fitzpatrick's still a solid safety. You got Cameron Hayward on the edge. Like,
Yeah,
the other team's
all
good,
pro.
man. Yeah, I mean, this is just a really good Steelers team.
And you're happy to see it.
Yeah, and I mean, the Commanders ain't a bad team too. I don't think Jaden Daniels played his best game or the offense as a whole, but I mean, they still competed, man.
No, I mean they took them to the wire, man, and I honestly had a chance to win there on that last drive. Whether you think that last play was short or not, Jaden Daniels, I mean, almost proven it again that he could take them for a game-winning drive. You know what I mean?
These are two really solid teams that like might have potential to win make it to the championship games in their conferences. So
huge game between the Eagles and Commanders this Thursday.
Yeah, that will be that one. I think it might be the Thursday night game, other than that Falcons Bucks one that I watch.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a good one for that division, you know. So.
Yeah. Man, another quarterback that continues to rejuvenate his career. Kinda. The Vikings really didn't play that well, but they did get it done over Jacksonville. They continue to be on this kind of historic run. Yeah, Sam Darnold really didn't play good in this game, and but they had to play the mighty Mac Jones led Jackson.
Sam Darnold hasn't really looked that good in his last few games, and I think this game in particular, you've seen a lot of frustration with Justin Jefferson about getting the ball, and I just wonder, you know what I mean, with NFL teams' ability to adapt and kind of pick up on what the Vikings are doing, if Sam Darnold is going to tail off, if he's going to be able to lead them to a playoff victory or, you know, anything like that, or the NFC North.
Well, quarterbacks hit slumps all the time and have bad games. Like, it's not out of the ordinary. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has looked very vulnerable this year. We still consider him one of the top quarterbacks in the league. Joe Burrow's had his really bad couple of weeks in a row. I mean, Matthew Stafford's had bad weeks. Like, there's a lot of good quarterbacks. I mean, look, Jared Goff had like probably his worst performance ever.
But Sam Darnold doesn't have the cachet of any of those guys that you just named.
And I'm not trying to discredit Darnold. And you might think, oh, well, this happened with Carolina too, where he looked solid the first 3 weeks, and then shit.
Or with the Jets, I remember that as a Lions fan.
But my thing is that look, if he's going to continue to lead you to wins, there's no reason to switch it up. And you know what?
There is nobody to switch it up.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's also very true. I mean, who's number 2 on their depth chart? Nick
JJ's,
Mullins.
he's down.
No, I mean, he's got a lot of season left to prove that he's still a good quarterback, and it's kind of just going to be, what is he going to be able to do? Because I think this is a really good point for a quarterback or testament to how good a quarterback is. How do you respond from the bad performances, and can you go out there and lead? And that will be a really good testament to see, what Sam Darnold's going to be like, for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And I think they got obviously a legitimate shot. I think they will be a wild card team. So, and they have the weapons on offense to do it. I mean, I get what you're saying. Guys have off games, but just something to note, something to talk about, because he doesn't have a rich history of proving otherwise in the previous stops that he's been to. So, it's something to throw out there maybe, because they do have a really good defense in Minnesota.
Yeah. Last note, Ravens Bengals 35-34. Ravens got it done. Jamar Chase fantasy owners were really happy, but Bengals fans were not. I know, because my Bengals friend was texting me throughout the whole game like, holy shit, Jamar Chase, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, I fucking hate this team. I don't want anything to do. Not necessarily, but I mean, if the Bengals after this game are basically out of playoff contention, like we thought they were last week, but now this week they're really out of it. And then like the Ravens, dude, Lamar, he's going to be the MVP, bro. We said, oh, maybe Sam Darnold and blah, 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 blah. Nah, dude, this guy deserves it.
It's
for
Lamar. I mean, you're talking about a guy that was the MVP last season,
And
who
he's played a shit ton.
he's played way better.
He has as much passing touchdowns as last year, dude. I mean,
Dude, he's Lamar. That offense, everything is just on a different level right now. He's going to win another MVP, and if we say it about him all the time, but I feel like if there ever was a year for the Baltimore Ravens to win a Super Bowl, I think it's this year. The way that he's playing,
for sure. Yeah,
and
I mean,
talk about like how crazy, like, dude, these Baltimore and Cincinnati Bengal games, like every time. I mean, going back last year or the year before, like
they just hit. Yeah, no.
If Burrow and Lamar Jackson are in, they're division rivals, dude. You're putting points on the board. This is almost like in a service academy game where you bet the under. Like when you see the Ravens and the Bengals on the field together, you're betting the over.
Yeah. No, they are both really good teams. And I think the Bengals have just been dealt a bad hand this year. They're without T. Higgins as well, which stinks. And it's going to suck, but you're probably going to see this Bengals team blow it up, right? Like, I think we're a little bit on board with that, or at least go in a different direction, because I don't think you're going to be able to retain T. And you're probably going to lose Hendrickson at some point to a trade. Yeah, so stinks, man. But you know what? Look, you technically you're 4-6. If you went out, you go 11-6. So let's take a look at their schedule. The Chargers, Steelers, Cowboys, Titans, Browns. Okay, you know what? Their schedule looks a little other than the Steelers, dude. I mean, look, we'll see.
Chargers are playing good football right now too.
Yeah. I mean, if you can go 9-8, I mean, in the AFC, who fucking knows, right?
Yeah, they could get in. I mean, but there's not a lot of margin for error.
Yeah. So it depends what the Bengals do. They have to continue to play well, but yeah.
They're doing it on offense.
Yeah. All right, Justin, is there anything else you want to hit on? Kentucky is about to beat Duke 75-72. So.
Once again, I was wrong. So.
Yeah. Pistons, win NBA Cup group play. Big overtime win versus Miami. Tyler Hero went off in that game. Dude, Cade Cunningham's been playing really good this season. Far.
He's on a level right now. I've seen some kind of stat with him that compares to only Jokic and Luka Doncic.
Yep, right, I saw the same thing as well. I mean, he's playing better than Tyrese Halliburton this season, which he hasn't played well. But like, Cade might play his way into an all-star and potentially all-NBA season if he can get this Pistons team to be like relatively competent and like in the play-in or playoffs, because the East stinks this year. Really
the Pistons are 5-7. I'd be interested to know at what point last year that they actually got their 5th win.
I'm not gonna go look for it, but yeah, no, for sure. I mean, right now they're sitting at number 7 in the East. And look, the Nets are gonna want to tank at some point. The Bucks might come back. This team is capable of making a play-in, and I think we do want to see at some point the Pistons be, competitive.
Yeah.
And because it's been a while. Like, I mean, I know I've never really seen the Pistons that good in my lifetime. Like, we've made a couple playoffs here and there, like with Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond and Reggie Jackson and KCP. But like, other than that, dude, like, we haven't. The first thing I remember is we signed Josh Smith to that huge contract, and he ended up being really terrible after he left Atlanta. So,
yeah.
I mean,
I can speak differently because I've seen the going to work Pistons. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that was about a 7-8 year stretch where they were in the Eastern Conference Finals almost every year until LeBron came. And once LeBron came, things kind of changed. But yeah, it's been that long since.
I mean, it's been since like 2009 where they've actually been like a competitive like playoff team.
It kind of all went downhill when they traded Chauncey Billups away and they got Allen Iverson from Denver. And
The one season with Allen Iverson. We had Tracy McGrady at one point.
Yeah, at the end of his career. So
Yeah.
this team, I don't know how familiar you are. I'm sure you are because you're a big sports guy. But they took Darko Milicic back in
2004 over
and they passed
Carmelo,
over
Chris Bosh,
Chris
Dwayne
Bosh,
Wade.
Dwayne Wade, all these guys two of those guys that are Hall of Famers for sure.
Carmelo is going to probably be a Hall of Famer too.
It was said that the Pistons were supposed to take Carmelo, and Joe Dumars had some kind of love affection with Darko. And could you imagine if they would have took Carmelo? I think that the Pistons legitimately would have won at least one or two more championships.
Right, because there's that Spurs won it in 2005. And then, there's years now, who knows, with the development of Carmelo Anthony and the buy-in that team's able to maintain. Because, look, that 2006, when the Heat beat the Mavericks, dude, if that Pistons team had Carmelo, that could have been a big difference maker. Now that finals was also rigged. Yeah. So if you want to really look into it, dude, that one.
And their current core of Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren, to me, they're all young.
Sarr is going to get healthy too, and I think
Sarr's going to get healthy.
Beef stew ain't bad. I'm not a fan, but he's not great.
Ron Hollins even played. You know what I mean? And he has potential to develop. You know what I mean?
This draft class was terrible, so I'm not a big Ron Holland guy. He's super comparable. Look, it's cool and everything, and him and what NFL player was it?
I can say
Rakenstraw. Him and Rakenstraw went to the same high school together. So
I can say that the draft class that they got, Stuart Thompson, probably wasn't very good either.
I gotta think. Well, it was Wembanyama and everyone else. So.
That's what I'm saying. And we got screwed out of the number. Man, if we would have got Wembanyama. Oh.
He wouldn't have stayed after his restriction deal was up. But
we're rambling on here. It's getting late.
I wanted to point out one more thing. The Cavs are 12-0, dude. That team is playing really well with Kenny Atkinson. Darius Garland's revived. Mobley's looking like a different beast, dude. God, the Cavs are must-watch TV.
Yeah. And hey, who was there? JB, right?
Yeah.
JB's
got a weird coaching philosophy. With he tries to be the Dion of the NFL, or not the NFL, the NBA, in terms of having you can't wear jewelry and street clothes on the sidelines and stuff, and just a bunch of extracurricular stuff. Or I've listened to Gilbert Arenas talk plenty of times and be like, bro, we don't even practice as a team most days. You go to shoot around and you travel and you go, all of this stuff. So,
yeah, I agree.
It's hard to maintain that attention from, guys that have made it and they're like, oh yeah. If you're competing for a roster spot, obviously it's a little bit different, but if you're a guy like Cade, you're like, fuck this guy,
right.
That's just how it is. All right. But that's going to wrap it up here on the 4th and Goal podcast. Also, we didn't mention we don't have Andrew today. He's currently sick.
He's sick of our shit.
Yeah. He's sick of our shit. He's sick of me and Justin, and sick of giving him crap on every single little thing. So, no, he's got some throat sickness and he's got a cold. So we all wish him to get healthy and back ready for the 4th and Goal podcast. We'll update you on the injury report on Thursday. And yeah, anything else to say, Justin?
No, I'm good.
All right.
Take it away.
You guys subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave us a follow and a review as well. 5 stars preferably, but you know what? If you have something critical to say about us, be honest. We are an honest podcast, unfiltered. And then make sure you go follow us on our social medias at TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at 4th and Goal Pod. The TikTok has been getting a lot of interaction. The Instagram's starting to build more. So, and it starts with you guys, and we couldn't thank you guys enough for your support. Well, other than that, we will see you on Thursday to break down everything that's going to happen in the weekend ahead.